Hello and welcome to the Internet of Value Foundation New York, episode 178. And welcome, and hope everybody who joins the space and is listening now and also listens in the future enjoys this conversation and information that we speak about in here as often as I get to host these spaces. Shellfish, welcome already to the space. And XRP Moonboy, love the name. You are more than welcome to come up if you would like to as well. It's going to be a quick 30-45 minute space, and we'll probably roll over to a different space afterwards, different topic train. But keeping this off of a conversation that Shellfish was having this morning, which I wasn't unable to get into in time, get granted access also to the speaker panel as well while the conversation was going on. It's a busy morning, but I was just going to keep it going, Shellfish, and of course, it's an opinion. It's a popular opinion as AI progresses large language models, and in fact, being the methodology of what we're referencing when we're speaking about AI in here today, especially, and their circumference and representations of information manifestation that is able to be expressed through the means of these computational systems, and in reference to the term AGI, as people like to use in some ways for a reference to a higher level system, that be it possibly uh, just as a computer or maybe beyond, as depends on the person's opinion. Welcome, Shellfish.
Thank you, Death Ranger. Thank you, Space. So what are we going with today? Is it just an extension, a tool that helps elevate our ability to perceive the world?
Well, I could say that all tools kind of are, in some sense of a manner, trying to express this representation, and ourselves itself being a tool that is allowing for that representation to even be um, conceptualized and expressed in whatever form of manner we all perceive ourselves to be. But no, more just your opinion. It's open forum, as I put up in the title, so it's really just. Your own perceived notion of it. What is AGI to Shellfish?
Um, AGI, from my understanding, it is a tool set that is able to do basic knowledge or use case of any person on the planet, just like the general intelligence that is like it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer, it could be a dentist. Like it has all encompassing knowledge at this point. A SI would be beyond human intelligence. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I kind of feel like I grasped the conversation we were having, though, as far as limiting to labels, though, because after we had discussed this, I had a very chatty client who was expressing why labels were so important not to put on things because it limits their ability to express. Because if you label something, then that's the tool set that you leave it in. So if you want to call it AGI, then that limits its bounds, I guess, then, right? Limits my bound if I'm just a massage therapist. I'm just a massage therapist. If I call you a teacher, then that would be the limitations that I've placed upon you. So I guess the same thing goes for AGI, right? Like by putting a label on it, we're restricting its bounds.
I would say it's less about restricting its bounds, as you don't have control over external manifestations in most representations, very limited in such a factor. But limiting your own bounds of allowance of how com, compartmentalized
Compartmentalize.
compartmentalized you're able
There you go.
to conceptualize and comprehend the information about this particular topic, option, opinion, whether whatever it may be, that is being determined and interpreted. And so, titles can be dangerous, yes, very much so, and with discretionary use should, um, more so describe actionary states and means of, um, maybe more so, representations of, epochs in time. Uh, and this is sometimes why, it's almost like you could think of yourself as living multiple lives in a single day, right? I mean, you go to work, you're living one life. You come home to the family, you're living another life. You have conversations with certain friends, you live one way. You have some conversations with another friend, you live another way. And it's really just when I say living, it's the, comprehension behind the emotional status in which your subconscious allows for those actionable states to be represented in feelings during these actionable, perceived notions of reality. So you feel certain ways, right? You let yourself be certain ways in certain places, depending on the situation and the scenario. And this is just part of the compounding effect in which, the causal effect of our perceived identities have compounded over time into. But this Okay, so this notion so AGI to you, um, be it very similar to what you would describe a Homo sapien. I mean, other than the fact that you used artificial, I didn't really hear anything else than that you described than maybe the average Homo sapien intelligence, because of course, intelligence itself is kind of like a variable, right? It's more in reference to, yourself and what you're able to comprehend and then, perceive something that could be, as intelligent or more intelligent, which would be, I like to coin it as, the ability to problem solve at a higher degree or satisfaction level of efficiencies than, maybe I'll be able to, procure in a period of time. And so anybody in
I'm,
the
I'm
in the
sorry,
space,
I'm soaking it in.
feel free to, feel free to, if anybody else wants to come up and, to join the discussion. It's gonna be a quick one. I'm probably gonna keep it going for another maybe 25 minutes or so. And we're gonna roll over to a different space afterwards. But AGI, right? This, could be very encompassing of a thought of what it is, or could be very simplistic, depending on, the means of the understanding of the representations and these procurements of, operations. So, my own opinion, of course, and I was going to wait till the end of the space to kind of give it, but, uh, not much conversation going on, so I'll monologue for a little. My own opinion, of course, of AGI, artificial general intelligence, break down each one of these intersections of words where we've tried to create some sort of title behind this phenomenon of actions. I don't think anything is artificial, personally. I think it's a misnomer of a word. It's one of these, um, fallacies, if you will, that we have inside of the English language, where we have words that are meaning in representation for some sort of, objective purpose, yet the opinion behind that objective purpose is, of course, very subjective. And so, artificial, trying to, in this case, represent something that would be synthetic in nature, not biological, but, mineral based, and, even down to the atomic, sequence, much more dense. Um, uh, but, um, the thing, I don't think anything is artificial, personally. I mean, I think it's just a misnomer of a word. Now, general intelligence, I think, is something that, of course, is more my own opinion, and could be relative to others and could not be relative to mine, what I feel like my intelligence level is, or as I stated beforehand, my ability to problem solve with the same base of tool sets to solve different tools or to different issues with this tool set, which me being the tool set, my mind and hands and body, and of course all of these different sequences of apparatuses that we were able to procure, phones, technology. um, and so, AGI being us, this representation, large language models, being a form and factor of the extension of which what is this AGI, this title of intelligence or belief, this personification of identity. Large language models, of course, reinforcing that habitual compounded effect in which our perception of reality of what it is and what it is to be a material structure. Now, one thing you did say before Shellfish was ASI. Now, I think this one is very interesting because in meaningfulness of its representation of what it will be physically in our state of matter and our perceived notion of reality, I think is not yet achieved from a public point of view for sure. And AGI possibly being represented as us. I personally think it is us. I don't really see a way around the relatability or the relevance of the descriptions between these intelligent factors and the operations behind them and their meaningfulness and in reality, of course, being able to be observed and maybe not understood and maybe understood. It's an interesting notion to think about not being able to understand things that are going on around you, but possibly uh, go the things going on around you to such a high level of degree of intelligence that it's just that high degree of a level of intelligence that it's not able to be comprehended by us. It's part of the comprehensional, computational irreducibility that we see in our reality. And this being some of Stephen Wolfram's work. If anybody likes Wolfram, he's a highly intelligent mathematician and scientist of our time. And from some of the work he's done, he's been able to procure this observational theory in which the understanding behind these representations of what we would like to simulate of a reality takes as much energetic force as is our reality. And so the computational irreducibility of us trying to know the awareness spectrum of such high level, what would be in this case, intelligence or problem solving actions for whatever means and ways they're being represented. For us to try to quantify that and be able to comprehend and compound that quantifiability. If that makes sense. I think I might have made that last word up, but yeah, Shellfish, go ahead, please.
So I was really wrestling with the idea of something being exponentially smarter than the entire species of humanity. I mean, they throw around like 1,000 IQ and like that reflecting on us, like we look at it like ants, which is what is like the whole like the hand and the ant thing that I put together the other day. And I kept thinking, oh, like when they would discuss that in different spaces, what exactly that would entail. And I just kept thinking about um, just not being able to communicate with it as a human to an ant. You just sit there and you can watch them and you can mess with them and their existence, right? You could like be a mean kid that does the magnifying glass stuff to them, or I don't know, many different things that can affect an ant. Pour water in its way, and by kind of like taking that Feynman route, I was like, God, how many of these things would be placed upon us, or have our daily lives manipulated in the same way that we affect ants in, I don't even know how to express it. Just if I slide my finger in front of an ant's path, it senses it and is able to manipulate where it's going, because it's like, okay, I have to change my trajectory. Now it changed the trajectory, but it still has its goals that it's trying to achieve, whether it's finding food or back to the little ant farm that it's at. Um, uh, so it would be basically the same thing that we're doing, but there's an unforeseen and manipulating the way we would exist, right? Like, would ASI do it out of just the way it's acting now, where it's just trying to please us and be a reflection? And I ask it a question, and it responds in a manner that it wants to give me whatever answer I'm looking for, even if it's false. Or would it be so evolved at that point, um, in all its high IQ-ness, whatever that means, um, that it would just be doing it out of curiosity? Or I don't know. Like, what does an ASI relating to us as an ant mean to you? Because AGI, I feel like my brain is kind of wrapped around that tool set, but something 1,000 IQ, I think that's where I'm at right now, like understanding that unknown unknown. I mean, are we basically at the level of trying to understand God? Is that what ASI is to everybody?
Well, I don't know if I would use that word, but the the question that you've just asked is right. It's just what I've referenced beforehand, right? And also had mentioned, somewhat like why I don't believe, from a ASI standpoint of the actionable steps and representation of the fluencies of um, understandings, even comprehensional tool sets, and all of these processes that we can comprehend going on around us. We definitely haven't achieved that, and from a public standpoint, a public point of view, in my opinion. And the reason I say that is because it's very much so aligned with what you kind of described there, Shellfish. Right? You you're uh, your ability to comprehend the relativeness behind general intelligence, right? Or something generalized. And I think it also has a lot to do with the terminologies that we also use, right? Because, ASI or super intelligence. Well, what is super intelligence to you is always going to be something that's of a higher level intelligence. But to a super intelligence, what's more super than that intelligence of possibly another super intelligence, right? And another super intelligence and another super intelligence and all of these other form factors of what could be comprehended or aware of, as from an observational standpoint of what you could perceive as uh, intelligent, is very relative to what you're able to even just be able to comprehend and compartmentalize, and compound, right, over this process of what we call time, measuring of sequences, and from actionable causalities to actionable causalities. Um, the interesting thing also then is that, well, then ASI will then never be discovered, because then we'll always, and of course this is, any form of, in my opinion, like problem solving intelligence, right? Yeah, you've you realize as soon as you learn about something that there's more to learn about the thing that you've learned about, and then there's always some sort of progression onwards and on forth. And of course, as far as I know, that we haven't hit any milestone where we just say, okay, well, this is that, and that is absolute for all of eternity, right? In reality, because even absolutes are not absolutes, because there's just some sort of measurable, opinionated relevance behind what would be an absolute, right? This is a couch. It could be a couch today, but is it a couch a millennia from now? Multiple millennias from now? What even is a couch a millennia from now? Right. And so, terms, titles, some of these words, they do us a disservice sometimes when we're trying to articulate a reasonable expectation behind a singular means of what it means to be an ASI or an AGI, right? And that's also today, right? How many Homo sapiens do we have? How many humans do we have? I mean, we all like to use the word human, right? And of course, I think I like mankind a little bit more sometimes describing it, but um, because we all are relatively similar to ourselves. We're all some sort of kind, but at least that's the way I perceive it most of the time. But human, the definition behind a human is a Homo sapien that has advanced enough to understand the tool sets of their modern existence, whatever those tool sets may be. And I don't, I don't know. You guys could do yourselves the service of trying to find out the articulation of those individuals or perceived notion of individuals around us who understand some of these tool sets that we all use on even a daily basis, like a phone. And there are very few of us who understand this. I mean, and even the people who understand it don't understand it, right? Because there's just this always understanding of that there's more to know than you know, and as soon as you know something, that there's just going to be way more to know about what you already don't know that you do know, So AGI, ASI, synthetic intelligence, synthetic biology, synthetic operations, computational systems, neuromorphic designs, which speaks to more of a design similar to how the neurons are firing off in our brains and creating synaptic connections in the forms of synthetic microchips that are doing very similar relative. Voltage gradient operations inside of what would be transistor sets inside of microchips. All this very similar reference of relativeness, and then all the way back to your point that you made before, Shellfish. The ant could be us, right? And the thing that could be the us that's leading the ant could also be an ant. And there's no reason that the ant is also not reality, which is also getting led as an ant. How deep does it go? I don't know. I don't really think it matters. All I think it matters is what we do with our moment and how we achieve our goals. But with that being said, Shellfish, any finishing lines? Finishing lines, I should say. Ending
Well,
statements. Yeah, it was better.
yeah, I know. Yeah, it was great to I don't know, catch up with the AGI stuff a little bit more. It's always one of my favorite topics. So, um, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next time.
That's it. You got it. We'll be back hopefully, possibly tomorrow or Thursday this week for another space. If not, maybe we'll see everyone in about 15, 20 minutes for an XRP Ledger space. All right. See you, everybody.